Om Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from death to immortality. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Today the topic is pure love that transforms. All of us know how to love. There's no need to teach anybody how to love. So why are you going to talk about love? But the question is, do we really know how to love? Is our love for our parents, children, sisters and brothers, husband and wife, friends and relatives, is it pure love? What do you mean by pure love? Do you mean that love is impure, adulterated? Well, we should say yes. Swami Vivekananda says love is of three sorts. The first one demands but gives nothing. The second is exchange. And the third is love without a thought of return. Love like that of the moth for the light. The first one demands, gives nothing in return. I want you to love me, but whether I love you in return, it's not a question. I may not love you, but you should love me. I won't say we belong to that category. Most of us belong to the second category, which is exchange. I love you, you love me. Exchange. Our love is always mixed with self-interest, selfishness, expectations. I love expecting that you love me. You show gratitude to me, appreciation for what I am doing. So there is always expectation. We say the mother's love is the most selfless love. Still, there is selfishness because she loves her children. The love is confined to only her children, not to anybody else. And also there is a little bit of expectation. When I grow old, my children will look after me. That expectation is there. So that is the second love, stage of love, where is exchange. The highest love, the pure love, is a third type, without any demand, without any thought of return. I love because I love to love. That is the thing. That is the real love of God. Ordinarily, our love of God, what we say devotion to God, is not pure. It's a mixture of selfishness and love. We love God. There is selfishness involved because I would like to get some my personal selfish desires fulfilled. We pray to God, offer worship for the fulfillment of some selfish desire. But Sri Krishna says in the Gita, there is no harm in that. He says, he speaks about 4 types of devotees who worship him. Those who are in distress, those who are seekers of knowledge, those who are seekers of wealth, and people of wisdom. And he says all of them are noble because they are worshipping God. They're going towards the divine. Even though they are praying to God or worshipping God for the fulfillment, for getting rid of their distress or to gain knowledge, acquisition of wealth, doesn't matter, he says, still they are worshipping me. So they are noble. But then he adds, but the person of wisdom is my very self because he loves me without expecting anything in return. And another thing is, he says they are all noble because even with this love with a selfish end in view, that fulfillment of some selfish desires, getting rid of troubles, getting wealth, doesn't matter. If you are sincere in that, gradually you will move towards pure love. This is the first step in that direction. In the epics, there is a story of Dhruva. Dhruva was a prince, but his stepmother and the stepbrother were his father's pets. So he and his mother were pushed to the background. So one day, because of the ill treatment of the stepmother, he went away to the forest to pray to God. He wanted the affection of his father. Little boy, young boy, child, all he wanted was his father's affection. And being a sincere soul, see, that's a great thing, but in spiritual practice, if you are really sincere, the guide will come. A guide will come to lead you in the right direction. Sage Narada appeared before him and told him how to pray to God. So throughout, the little child prayed, spent months and months together in his deep meditation. And at last he had a vision of Lord. And the Lord said, child, may get up, you go back to the kingdom, your father is waiting for you. Then Dhruva said, why should I need kingdom? What need do I have of kingdom when I have got you? See, they started a devotion with a selfish end to get kingdom, the father's affection, but he has got over that. He has moved forward. Pure love has come. But the Lord said, no, you started with this desire, you have to have this. But that's on the right path. It's the first step towards pure love of God. And Swamiji says it is exchange because we are looking upon God as a fulfiller of our desires. A sort of Santa Claus. Children ask for this and that for Santa Claus and gives. God, we look upon God like that. I want this, I want that. And if you fulfill this, we try to bribe God. If you fulfill this, I will offer you this, offer this worship, this worship, all that. What we have in our mind, we project on outside. What we expect things from others. If we do some favor, so we think that God also expects some favor from us. So we say, tell God that if you fulfill this desire, I'll give you this worship. I'll offer this worship to you. That shows our nature. So Swamiji says, we accept God not because we really want him, but because we have need of him for selfish purposes. Not that I really want God, but it's good to have God's help to fulfill this particular desire. Love, Swamiji continues. So love is something absolutely unselfish. If you look at what Swamiji says about the third stage of love, or the love without any thought of return, like that of the moth for the light, there is no thought of gain or no expectation at all. Again, there is another child devotee in the Puranas, Prahlada. Prahlada was so ill-treated by his father for the love of God that his father tried to kill him. And the story goes that the God has to take the form of a man, half animal, to fulfill the conditions of a boon that his father had got. And then anyway, for the Lord asked Prahlada, I'm so pleased with your love for me, ask for a boon. Prahlada said, I'm not a trader in love. I don't ask anything. I don't want anything in return from you. I just want to love you. And this love without any expectation of return, Swami Vivekananda put as the first angle of the triangle of love. Swamiji says there's a triangle of love with three angles. And this is the first angle of the triangle of love. There is no love, knows no bargaining. I love God because I cannot help loving. God is the only object worthy of love, and I get immense joy in giving that love to Him. And it's only giving and giving. There's nothing asking in return, just giving love to God. The second angle of love, according to Swamiji, love knows no fear. We worship God because of fear. That's a very degraded form of worship. True devotee is a God-loving person, not a God-fearing person. We often hear, you should be God-fearing. God-fearing, why you should love God? Fearing God is so far away. Here, when you love God, God is your very own. You don't fear your mother, you love your mother. You don't fear your father, you love your father. They're so close. God is closer than all of them. So we love God. We have to be God-loving people, not God-fearing people. That's a very low state, God-fearing. Once a group of religious leaders came to Rabia, the Sufi saint. So they were talking, and then she suddenly asked them why they worship God. She asked 3 or 4 people, she asked one by one why they loved God. So the first one said, he worships God to avoid the 7 levels of hell, which he regarded with great fear. And he wanted to escape from that 7 levels of hell, so he worshipped God. Another person said he worshipped God because he wanted to dwell in one of the many levels of paradise, which God has promised, and where there is much joy. He wants to dwell in one of those. And then they asked, why do you worship, Rabia? Why do you worship God? So they said their opinion, why they worship. Now it's Rabia's turn to answer. Rabia said, it is wrong to worship God from fear of punishment or from hope of reward. Do you think that if there were no heaven or hell, worship would be unnecessary? Would not God deserve to be worshipped, even if he had no punishment to threaten or reward to offer? When real love comes, there is no room for fear. So Swamiji says, as long as there is the least spark of fear in you, there can be no love there. So that's the second angle of the triangle of love. Love knows no fear. And the third one is love knows no rival. The object of love becomes to us our highest ideal. In ordinary human love, we see that all the time. To the lover, his or her beloved is endowed with all the best qualities that you can imagine. In the Merchant of Venice, we see the father asking the son, what do you see on the face of that Jewess? And what was the reply? If you look through my eyes, you will see what I see. For the lover, the beloved has got all the best qualities in the world. There is a story about Akbar and Birbal. Most of you have heard about Birbal, one of the ministers of the court of Emperor Akbar. One day, Akbar asked in the court to the ministers, by tomorrow evening, I should know the most beautiful child in Agra. So one day, everybody they went around looking for, they could not find, most of them could not find any beautiful child. And Birbal came the next day. No, the time out, everybody failed. The Birbal came. You have to come with me. I'll show you. So he took the emperor along with him. They traveled the city, got out of Agra into the outskirts. All the wealthy areas even left behind. They came to the area where the really, really poor people live, like the slum. And there, in the very narrow, dirty lane, they entered. And there was a little child playing in the mud with a running nose, fully covered with dirt and grime. And Birbal pointed to that child, little child, to the emperor and said, "That's the most beautiful child in the whole of Agra." The emperor thought, "What are you ridiculing? What's making fun of?" Seeing the strangers, the child started crying. And hearing the child crying, the mother came running out. And, "Oh, my darling, my beauty, why are you crying?" and all that. And then Birbal told Akbar, "See, this is the most beautiful child in the whole of Agra." And then he added, to the parents, their child is the most beautiful. And then one more sentence he added, and to the grandparents, because Akbar doted on his grandson. So he added, to the grandparents also, their grandson child is the most beautiful. So that's why Swamiji says, love knows no rival. To the lover, the beloved is the most beautiful, or with all the best qualities. And as far as we are concerned, the highest ideals of beauty, grace, compassion, love, strength, power, wisdom, it's all God. So that's why we say God knows no rival. And this love is one-pointed love. It's not scattered. There is no other object in the heart of the devotee other than God. And when we say God knows no rival, love knows no rival, there is a saying in the Old Testament, it says, "I'm a jealous God. I don't want to share your heart with anybody else. I want to take my seat completely, occupy your heart completely for me. I'm not happy to share with anybody else. No sharing." Now, how are we to attain this supreme love? This love, this pure love of God? Narada, the great exponent of bhakti, divine love, says, the principal means of attaining bhakti is the grace of a great soul, association of a great soul. There's a Sanskrit saying which says, Chanamapi sajjana sangati reka bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. A few moments in the company of the holy people becomes the boat to take one across the ocean of birth and death. A few moments. And Swamiji says, get the mercy of God and of his greatest children. These are the two chief ways to God. Get the grace, mercy, the grace of God and his children. It is very hard to obtain the grace of great souls because it's very hard to recognize them. In external appearance, they just look like any one of us. So we don't recognize them. Unless we are ready, if the mind is purified at least to a certain extent, and the mind does not feel the need for God, then you may visit a holy person, but you may not recognize the person, or you may not even get any benefit, even if you recognize the holy person. Now, it says, a few moments in the company of a holy one is the boat to take you across the ocean of birth and death. Just being in the company won't do. Your mind should be open to receive their grace, to receive their instruction. Your mind should be open for the communion with him. Otherwise, we will just see the external appearance of the person, the external characteristic, and say what sort of a mad person he is, or strange person he is. The people of Dakshinesha, especially the people who worked in the Dakshinesha Kali temple, they were in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, but how many of them got benefited? They really appreciated him. They thought he was a madman, mad priest. If we see again, people came from Calcutta, hearing about it, and Calcutta, and also from other parts of India, hearing about Sri Ramakrishna. Whereas people just next door to him, Dakshinesha village, and those who in the temple, they thought he's a madman, mad priest. That's all. Jesus, what did they say? Is he not a carpenter's son? Why are these people following him? So it's very hard to recognize a great soul. That is why Shankaracharya says, Durlabham Trayamai Vedat Devanugraha Hetukam. Three things are very rare to get. Only through God's grace we obtain that. What are the three things? Manushyatam, Mumukshuttam, Mahapurusha Samshrayam. A human birth, desire for liberation, and the association or the grace of a great soul. It's very hard to get. But Narada says that's the best way to get pure love of God. And only through God's grace we get the association of holy people, because there is no difference between God and the man of God. The Upanishad says, Brahmavid Brahmavya Bhavati. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. The man of God means God, and the one who has realized God, attained union with God. Physical appearance is nothing. If the body is there, but as Sri Ramakrishna says, it's like the pumpkin, everything is scooped out, only the shell is there. The physical, the body is there, but inside, nothing but God. And if we can, by the grace of God, if we get the grace of such a holy person, the result is infallible. We really will be influenced, and we will be able to move towards that goal of attaining pure love of God. And why do they say this holy company is so important? Because holy people introduces us to God. Through their influence, some interest is generated. The person is not extremely attached to the world, not very worldly, but at the same time, don't have intense desire for God or intense renunciation. Such a person, if he or she comes into contact with a holy person, then more interest is generated. Some interest generated in attaining love of God, want to know more about God and want to hear more about God. When there is love, you want to know more about the person that you love. And the more you know about that person, love for that person increases. So when we have a little bit of love for God, we want to hear more about God, want to know more about God. And as we hear more and we come to know more about God, then our love for God increases. And the little interest that we have, it turns to love. Thoughts of God becomes more and more continuous, more and more frequent, and it becomes almost a continuous flow, a non-stop. When that love is intense, it becomes devotion, bhakti. Devi Bhagavatam says, as oil poured from one vessel to another falls in an unbroken stream, so when the mind in an unbroken stream thinks about God, we have what is called supreme love. See, that's so one unbroken stream. The mind goes in an unbroken stream to God. then it is supreme love. And another effect or advantage of seeking holy company is holy people are like compass needle with which we can compare our position. One example we say is Atharsan was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He was a high official. One day he came to see Sri Ramakrishna along with a friend of his. This friend used to have trance. He go into trance. And Athar has seen this friend, trance of this friend. And while they were in Sri Ramakrishna's presence, there were devotional music going on. And then Sri Ramakrishna went into ecstasy, he went into samadhi. And Sri Ramakrishna's face beamed with joy. They say, when you see Sri Ramakrishna in samadhi, it seems as though he could not contain the joy. It's just bursting out with joy, that expression. Seeing that ecstasy of Sri Ramakrishna, Arthur came to know what really ecstasy means. And he then later told his friend, seeing your trance, the impression I got was that you are suffering a lot. Your trance showed the suffering within you, whereas Sri Ramakrishna's trance or ecstasy showed the joy, the bliss within. And if he had seen, if Sri Ramakrishna's trance was like yours, I would have now come back here. I know that's enough. I don't want to see him anymore. But that's why holy persons are like a compass needle. We can direct compare our position and get the proper location. Another result of holy association is that it awakens Shraddha, faith. And faith is absolutely necessary for spiritual progress. Without faith, there cannot be any spiritual progress. And according to Sri Krishna, each person is what he or she is according to his faith. Shraddha mayoyam purusha. We are what our faith is. And what is faith? The firm, unshakable conviction that God is. God is. God can be realized. And realizing God is the aim of life. This firm conviction in these three facts, that's faith. From faith, when we have this unshakable conviction, this faith, then comes single-minded devotion to the ideal, and which leads to step by step to pure love of God. With this pure love, there comes a complete transformation to the person. We always say that the mind takes the form of things that we put in the mind. We say gas takes the form of the container, but the mind takes the form of the contained. Whatever we put in the mind takes that form. If you're putting good thoughts, mind takes the form of the good thoughts. If you put bad thoughts, mind will become bad. If you put God there, fill the mind with God, then the mind becomes divine. When the heart and mind is full of pure love for God, it takes a divine nature. Dionysius, the great Greek thinker, says, it is the nature of love to change a person into that which he or she loves. It is the nature of love to change the person into that which he or she loves. So when we love God, we become divine. If you are loving worldly things, we become completely worldly. Say we are so much attached to wealth, we become greedy, jealous of other people, and always trying to grab grab money from others by whatever means it is. With pure love of God, we become divine, we take on divine qualities. So Swamiji says, God is a philosopher's stone that turns us to gold in an instant. God is a philosopher's stone that turns us to gold in an instant. That's a old idea. You touch the base metal with philosopher's stone and it turns to gold. The form remains, but no more can we do harm or commit any sin. As I said earlier, the outer form remains the same, outer shell remains, but inside it is turned to gold. We cannot do all the evil is removed, all the impurities are removed. We can no longer harm anybody or commit any sin. Narada mentions various characteristics of such a devotee with supreme love who has completely transformed. One of them is that devotee becomes siddha, perfect. Siddhi often means siddhi has got, actually the Sanskrit word siddhi has got different meanings in different contexts, depending upon what context you use. It's also meaning supernatural powers. But here, the pure devotee becomes siddha, means he becomes perfect. Perfect in his love of God. And this perfect love of God is often manifested as love for fellow beings, compassion for others. His heart weeps at the misery of others. Another characteristic is he becomes amrita, immortal. Immortal, the body lives on, goes on living forever? No. He realizes his true nature as the immortal self. What does death mean? Death means separation from the body, the senses, and the ego as we understand it now. The true devotee becomes immortal because he is free from attachment to body. He is free from attachment to senses, the ego, and all the other worldly things. So he has no attachment to them. So whether the body leaves or no goes, he's not worried. Because there is no attachment, there is no fear of death. And that person is established in the idea that I am the immortal self. So he is immortal. That immortality comes from pure love of God. Once Sri Ramakrishna asked young Naren, suppose there is a bowl of nectar of love, how will you enjoy it? Naren said, I'll sit, and you are a bee, how will you enjoy it? I'll sit on the edge of the bowl and stretch my neck to sip the honey, the nectar of love. Why? That is Sri Ramakrishna asked, why don't you go deep inside and enjoy it from inside? Oh, no, I will get drowned. I will die. Then Sri Ramakrishna laughed and said, no, this is the nectar of immortality. Going deep into that, you won't get drowned, you don't die. You become immortal. This is the nectar of immortality. And another characteristic of that such a devotee is he becomes satisfied, tripta. Becomes satisfied, becomes free from all desires. When do we feel satisfied? When our desires are fulfilled. When when desires are fulfilled, there is no more desire, then we say we are satisfied. Say, for example, I like some particular food. I want to have that particular food. And I was able to have that particular food. That desire is fulfilled, I am satisfied. When we attain this divine love, that person doesn't have any more desire. So his complete satisfaction is completely satisfied and does not desire anything else. Desire comes in our mind from a sense of lacking. I lack something, so I desire. I want to get that, obtain that. The desire comes. A man of God has complete fulfillment. There is no sense of lacking at all. There is nothing to gain, nothing to achieve. So there is no desire. His only desire is to serve God in mankind, in the fellow beings. His heart is full of compassion because he has got the highest treasure. He does not consider anything other than God as worthwhile to try to achieve. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Yam ladhva chaparam labham manyate nathikam tataha. Having obtained which, one regards no other acquisition superior to that. Having obtained that highest love of God, there is nothing greater than that to achieve, to attain. So there is nothing, there's no sense of lacking. So there is no desire for anything else. Then he does not grieve also. What he has attained, he never loses. So he does not grieve. Grief comes when we lose something that we have obtained. We lose something which we cherish, we hold on with dear, very, very dear to us. We lose that thing, then we feel sad, we grieve for that. For the devotee with pure love, whatever loss he come across in life, he may lose everything in the life, in the world. That does not trouble him. Even the idea of losing his body, which is dear to everybody, don't bother him because they are nothing in comparison with what he has got. He has got the most invaluable treasure, the supreme love of God. So he does not care how much he loses other things. And often we see that if you are really and truly a great devotee of God, you will be facing more and more troubles in your life, because God wants to test you purify through the fire ordeal and make you pure gold, and want to remove all that stands between you and God. There is a story which says that Sri Krishna and Arjuna were going somewhere, just walking along. And after a long time, walking for quite some time, they got tired and they thought, oh, they'll get some water. And there's a rich man's house, the mansion they saw. They were in disguise. They were just walking just as two ordinary people in ordinary clothes. No, there's nothing to proclaim as Krishna and Arjuna. So they went inside, opened the gate and walked there, went to the front porch. The rich man was sitting there. So we are two travelers, tired. Can we have some water and some refreshment? The man, get out. This is not a hotel or an inn to serve whoever wants to come here for food and drink and rest. If you don't go quickly, I'll now really get put a dog on you. So they walked out, reached the gate. Krishna turned around and blessed him. May his wealth increase. And Arjuna thought, well, it's the Lord's nature. However much way you treat, the Lord, it's Lord's nature to bless you. That's why He's blessing. Then they walked further and came across a hut. An old lady lives there. Poor lady, a small hut, all her possession was a cow. And she used to get a little milk from that cow, and she sold that, and whatever money she got from that milk, she maintained herself. And they again went there, said the same thing. We are two travelers. Oh, please come. I have been waiting for somebody to come. Today nobody came, turned up. I'm so happy that you came. Please come, sit down. I got a little bit of milk there, and I made some buttermilk that I made yesterday from this cow, my cow, and please have it. Made them sit there, gave that. She didn't have anything else to offer, but please sit down, rest for a little while. They had the buttermilk, they rested for some time, and now we will take leave. Oh, please, if when you go back, return on the return journey, please come again. All that. And again at the gate, Krishna turned around. May her cow die. That was a bit too much for Arjuna. We can understand Krishna blessing the rich man with more wealth, but why did he curse this poor lady who did everything, saying that may her cow die? He asked, why? Can you please explain? I can't understand your doings, your actions. Krishna said, that cow is the only thing standing between her, me and herself. She has got that bit of attachment to that cow that is obstructing her coming to me. Now, once the cow dies, she won't want anything else in this world. She will be holding on to me fully. So I want her to come to me quickly, completely. As we said earlier, love knows no rival. I don't want to share her love with the cow. No, I am going to share myself with the cow. No, I want her heart fully for me. And when they know that, they know they've got the highest treasure, the supreme love of God. Another characteristic of the supreme love is the person with such love is free from hatred and jealousy. Hatred we feel towards things that are obstacles to fulfillment of our desire. I want to get something, somebody or something obstructs that. I hate that person or thing. But since this devotee is in continuous union with God, the devotee has no unfulfilled desire, he has no hatred. There's nothing obstructing him and between him, but nothing coming between him and God. So there is no hatred towards anybody, anything, and no jealousy also. Again, he is seeing God's presence in all beings, God's hand in all happenings. So how can he have hatred for anything, anybody? There's no hatred or jealousy. And also there is no feeling of elation or overjoyed. No. Elation comes when you get something we did not have and which we wanted very much. I wanted that so much. I got that. I'm so happy. We see that when the sports people, they get the some trophy or win the match, how elated they are. Because they wanted so much and they got it. But the devotee has got everything. He is immersed in the bliss of God. There is nothing to give him elation. So he cannot and he does not enjoy the fleeting pleasures of this world because he has got the highest pleasure, highest bliss. He is immersed in that bliss. So there is nothing, these are petty things for him. He doesn't find anything great in these ordinary pleasures of the world. And also, Narada says, such a devotee has no enthusiasm to gain anything for himself. Usually we are enthusiastic about doing something to achieve something. But this devotee has attained everything. There is nothing more for him to achieve, nothing more to attain. So there is no eagerness. to gain anything for him. But does that mean he remains like an inert thing? No, he has the fact that he has no enthusiasm or not striving because he is full. He is so full of God, he is immersed in the bliss of God that there is no movement, no eagerness, no enthusiasm for anything. Suppose you keep a pot immersed in water. The pot is full of water inside, filled with water, and it's immersed in the water. So outside is also water. There is no movement of water. It's like that. The devotee is immersed in the bliss of God. And also there is the full jar won't make any noise. When the jar is full of water, it doesn't make any voice. It doesn't make any sound. Only when you pour that water from that into another, or if it is half empty, then it makes sound. When it is full, it doesn't make any sound. The devotee, it's this supreme love, is full with bliss of God that he doesn't feel like striving for anything. That does not mean that he is apathetic to the actions of the what's happening in the world, or he remains like an inert thing. No. He does some work to set an example to others, to help others on the path of spirituality, to show others the path of duty. Sri Krishna says, Loka Sangraham Evapi, for the welfare of humanity, welfare of the world, he works. These are the characteristics of a devotee who has been transformed with pure love. Again, these are the qualities which we should strive to cultivate, to develop through our spiritual practices, towards which we have to strive. Now, when you see these characteristics, we can see that these are almost opposite of what we usually say in the world, like the characteristics or qualities of nature of a person who is successful in this world, what are expected of a successful person in society. So often the devotee of this type is considered as worthless, good for nothing, useless. To recognize and to understand such a devotee of the real worth of such a person, we have to be evolved to a certain extent. While Sri Ramakrishna was the mad priest for the people of Dakshinesha or the officials of the temple garden, Bhairavi Brahmani, his first teacher, as soon as she was searching for him, and when she saw him and heard his spiritual experiences, she said, these are all tally with the scriptures. And she even challenged Madhur Babu to convene a meeting of the scholars where she is going to prove that he is an incarnation of God. And Totapuri, the Vedantic monk, when he came, as soon as he got out of the boat on the landing ghat in the Dakshinesha and saw Sri Ramakrishna sitting there on the porch, he straightaway recognized this is a great soul, worthy of the knowledge of Brahman. I would like to teach him, give him initiation into the knowledge of Brahman. And when I asked, would you like to be initiated in the knowledge of Brahman? For the ordinary people, he is madman. And when Bhairavi Brahmani proved, quoting scriptures, that these are the characteristics of an incarnation of God, the people were saying, my goodness, the madman there now is an incarnation of God. What is this? So we can understand. We think that the holy we judge them according to our standard. Sri Ramakrishna gives the story of a story. A rich man had a very huge diamond. So one day he told his servant to take the diamond to the market and find out from different people the value of the diamond. So he said, start from the vegetable seller. So he went to the vegetable seller and asked, oh, I would like to sell this one. How much will you give me? The man looked at the vegetable seller, looked at it and said, oh, well, I can give you 2 kilograms of eggplant. Only 2 kilograms. Can't you give me a little more? No. This is more than the market price I'm giving you, offering you. I can't give any more. So he came back and told the master, the vegetable seller said, he will give 2 kilograms of eggplant. Now he said, you go to the cloth merchant. The cloth merchant looked at it. It's a beautiful stone. I'll give you 50 meters of this particular cloth. It's a very good one. Then the servant asked, can you give a little more? It's such a beautiful stone. Can't you offer a little more? No, I can't give not a 1 meter more. No, not at all. I've given you more than the value of this stone. He came and told the reporter to the master. Then the master said, take it to the jeweler. The jeweler took it in hand, had one glance at it and said, I'll give you 10,000 rupees straight away, because he knew the value. The great souls, to understand the value, the worth of the great soul, we have to be great. Otherwise, we measure it from our yardsticks. That's why Shankaracharya says it's very hard to get the grace of a holy person, because we won't recognize them. But once you can recognize them, understand them, get their grace, then we are sure to progress on the path of spirituality and attain that supreme love. May God help us. Give us and that grace, to get their grace, we need God's grace. So we pray to God's grace to get the grace of the God's children. Thank you.
Being school holidays, we don't have the yoga class this Thursday. It'll recommence on the 21st of July, Thursday, 21st of July from 10 a.m. This Friday night, we have the spiritual evening discussion, and it'll be led by Gayatriprana. It'll start via Zoom from 7:30, and there'll be silent meditation here from 7 if you're coming in person. Then next Sunday, we've got a special celebration, a Guru Purnima celebration. And we'll have Vedanta memoirs, as we usually do. This time I'll be presenting my memoirs. There'll be a talk by Gayatriprana, and there'll be an open forum for members and friends to share their thoughts on their spiritual teachers and on how Vedanta has helped them. We have a limit on the numbers. Given the flu and the COVID all still swirling around and creating trouble, so we're capping the numbers to attend to 40. Maybe we won't get 40 anyway. I know there are many people, they're either sick or they're anxious about going out into events like this. But anyway, if you're coming, it's helpful if you let us know, just with the planning. For the lunch, we're going to give out little food packets at the end of the event, rather than have people staying around and probably having to eat inside together. Again, COVID and flu complicates all of that. So there'll be food packets given out at the end of the event. We have donation plate there, donation box up the back, and we'll conclude with listening to a guided meditation by revered Pravrajika, Gayatriprana. And thank you for those coming in person today. Again, rather difficult weather. And thank you for those joining us on Zoom.
O Lord, may my mind be so cleansed and strengthened that it may respond to the great mind of the universe. May my heart be in tune with the heart of the universe. May His power and glory be manifest in my life. May His grace surround me and inspire me in all my actions. May I be shielded from all pettiness and littleness, and may I be made worthy of His love and blessing. Help me to open my heart that I may feel His divine inspiration in me and others. Please make my thought free from all distractions, my sight clear, that I may perceive His holy presence in everything and everyone. Rouse my mind and soul and spiritual consciousness that I may manifest nobility and strength in all my actions. Closing your eyes, sit straight. Turn your inner eye towards your spiritual heart. See the light of the world shining therein. When we can't see, it means we are not looking properly. It is there, shining always, whether we look towards it or not, whether we are sleeping or awake, shining bright and clear. We can visualize it as a wonderful flame. In fact, it has no shape. It's just light, a beautiful light, which, as the great texts say, does not need any fuel to burn, does not send out smoke, does not cast any shadow of anything, penetrates and interpenetrates everything. Very powerful, but not piercingly hot. It's cool, bright, but not dazzlingly bright. It's a wonderful glow, ever shining in our heart. For convenience, we can picture it as a beautifully shaped flame. Now, if we try and concentrate on that flame, fully believing that it is there, we can see it shining in the center of our heart. There it is, a beautiful flame, shining in the center of our heart. It belongs to us. Nobody can cover it. Nobody can steal it. Nobody can share it. It's my own. It belongs to me. But it is the light of the universe. It is the condensed form of the life energy of the universe. I carry it wherever I go. I can turn to it when I need help, when I need power, when I need energy. Concentrate on that flame and see that, feel it, that tiny currents of energy are flowing out from that very tiny, feeble, all around. In the center, the beautiful flame is there, and from that, tiny currents of energy are flowing out into all parts of the heart. Tiny little glow. From the heart, it flows into all parts of the body, into the arms, into the legs, into the trunk of the body, into the head. Just feel that the whole body is filled with a tiny glow, a beautiful feeling of a glow all over inside the body, with the flame shining in the center of the heart. The glow comes out and covers the whole body outside, covers the skin with a thin film of radiance. Just hold the body. Let us try to hold the body in this state of perfect equilibrium. There is the flame of beauty, radiance, joy, and power in the center of the heart. The tiny glow of its radiance coming out of the flame, filling the heart and overflowing into the body, has come out and spread all over the skin as a thin film of radiance. We are immersed in the bliss of God. We are surrounded by the power of God. We are filled with the radiance of God's beauty. We are carrying the condensed form of the life energy of the universe. Just let us hold ourselves in this state for some time. Hari Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. I know in my inmost depths